Construction Department Irrigation Installation. Trenches. Mainline trenches in lawn are to be a minimum of 12 inches deep. Lateral trenches in lawn are to be a minimum of 6 inches deep. Irrigation trenches in new beds to be a minimum of 4 inches below native soil level or below bottom of edging. Irrigation trenches in existing beds are to be below the bottom of the edging. Keep trenches along bed edges as much as possible. If using trencher, tamp all trenches with trench tamper, then leave fill neatly mounded no more than 4 inches higher than ground level at its highest point. Do not haul soil off from job site until adequate soil has been left to accommodate for compaction. Ensure that all trenches are uniform, having the same size fill on top and same width before leaving job site. If hand digging trenches, place grass on one side of trench and soil on the other. Always try to get these trenches backfilled as soon as possible so that the grass does not die. Backfilling this way will be slow and require placing soil beneath each piece of grass, as the clumps will be different sizes. A mantis tiller used during backfill is very helpful when soil is hard or lumpy. Piping. All mainline piping will be Schedule 40 PVC. All lateral lines will be Class 200 PVC unless otherwise specified. If cutting pipe with a saw, make sure to remove all pipe dust before fitting. Always apply glue and primer to both pieces being joined. Never leave puddle of primer in fitting or wet primer when applying glue. Primer must be completely dry. Always clean dirt, pipe dust, and any other debris before gluing. Never leave glue puddled on outside of pipe fittings. When joining pipe to a fitting, always rotate 1/4 turn when pushing together. Never join pipe at an angle. If pipe is in a curved trench, join connection above ground and let set up until glue is dried, then set and curve. Never leave fittings in a bind or an angle. They will eventually fail. Always dig out ample room before fitting pipe so that the fittings don't end up in a bind or at an angle. Backflow preventers. Must have 1-inch gate valve and valve box connected to whip near meter. Writing must be pointed up on pipe and all pipe exposed from meter to backflow. Main line must be 12 inches deep from meter to backflow. Backflow must be 12 inches above ground level for RPZ, 12 inches above highest head for PVB. Always locate backflow in area not visible or distinguished by plant material or structures. If not possible, call manager to discuss. All backflows must have freeze blanket. Once the above items are done, don't bury pipe until after inspection. Heads and valve boxes. Make sure heads are not spraying buildings or tree trunks and not overspraying concrete whenever possible. Top of heads in lawn areas must be flush with surrounding grade or 1 inch higher than grade if no turf is present. Heads must be 2 to 3 inches away from all sidewalks, patios, driveways, and other hard surfaces. Make sure heads are packed with loose, dry soil or staked with rebar when necessary to keep them straight. Make sure all valve boxes are level with existing ground and valves lower than ground level. Make sure that valves are centered in boxes to where solenoid handles can turn without hitting the side of the valve box. Controllers. All irrigation wires are to be in a conduit from below ground level to the controller. Sink module wires are to be in conduit when possible, and if not, they are to be zip tied and left neat in appearance. Power cord is to be zip tied and left neat in appearance. Controller is to be secured tightly to wall and level or square. Conduit is to be perfectly vertical or level. Always show customer how to use controller and run through each zone with them if possible. Always leave instruction manual and keys to controller with homeowner or in controller housing if no one is home. When programming an irrigation controller, the main settings to assess are as follows: current date and time, start times, run times, also known as the duration, and days to water. Current date and time. You want to make sure that the controller is showing the correct date and the correct time, including AM versus PM. Start times. This is the time of day that you want the system to come on. Ideal times are usually 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. The idea is that you want it to water early enough so that the ground has time to soak the water in before the sun evaporates it, but not so long that it creates an environment for fungus. You only want one start time for pop-up systems, as each zone will run consecutively once it starts. Run times, or duration. This is how long each zone will run. For HydroWise, use the pre-configured watering times. For other controllers, set as follows. Spray heads at 6 minutes, rotors and rotaries at 20 minutes, drip hose at 30 minutes, micro sprays at 15 minutes. Days to water. During the off-season, there are no watering restrictions and systems can be run at any time on any day. During the warm season, controllers must be scheduled as follows. Not following the below restrictions can result in a fine from the municipality.